Welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast, the world's leading authority on childcare marketing, mindset, expansion, and profitability. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches and are the top-selling childcare business book authors of all time. This episode is sponsored by Childcare Genius Marketing. Let Childcare Genius Marketing help you get fully enrolled and fully staffed. Visit childcaregenius.com for more details. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast our hosts, Brian and Carol Dupre.
Hello, welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast. I'm your host, Brian Dupre. Thank you so much for joining us today. Carol is actually out. She's watching our grandchildren, 4 of them anyway, while I record this podcast by myself. Today I'm going to interview Blake Sanders. Blake is with Aleaf Childcare Insurance. Aleaf is my carrier, and so for many, many years, been very loyal to them. And if you need insurance, be sure to give Blake a call. But let's go ahead and get Blake on the line. Hey, Blake, welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast. How you doing today?
Good. How you been, Brian?
I'm fantastic. Weather's been great up here in Maine for the summer. Been kind of dry. How's Texas?
It's been cool and wet. So
That's
not
nice.
what you'd expect.
Yeah, usually you tell me 100 days or 100 degrees. So nice when you're saying that. I'm sure it's a lot, feels pretty good.
You can actually handle going outside and not losing your breath. It's been a nice change this year.
I don't know how you Southern folk do it.
I think you just get used to it after the years of it. It's expected at that point.
I don't know. I've lived in Maine for 30 years. I still haven't get used to the winters here. So I don't know if you could, 100 degrees. Yeah. I don't like snow, but I sure don't like 100 degrees worse, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to have a cold winter if we're already getting cold fronts and it's getting this cool in August.
You're welcome to come visit Maine if you want to go some winter. Well, it's been a while since we've had you on the podcast, and we wanted to bring you back. Obviously, insurance is a big topic. A lot of people are paying much higher rates. You probably get the blame in some of that, but I know it's not your fault. So I figured we'd come on and talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, you're the guy I use for all my childcare insurance. I've been with Aleaf for many, many years, been loyal to you guys. And I love you and love the owner of your company. So why don't we talk a little bit more about your role at Aleaf Childcare Insurance? What do you do there?
So I am basically what the world would call an insurance agent. I feel that's the role of an agent. I feel has changed over the years. Now I feel it's more education of the marketplace than it is what you would typically think of a salesperson. So I've really gone on the education approach, whether it be a podcast like this. What I see is most clients out there really don't know what they have or know what options there really are. So education has been my main focus for probably the last 4 or 5 years with Aleaf.
Well, education is important, obviously, because there's so many different types of things out there. You're getting bombarded with different, advertisements for insurance. We've had people canceled on insurance. There's just a lot of variables out there that the more education you have, obviously, the easier it could be in the long term. So, and there's so many things that affect your insurance rates. I know I pay a boatload for insurance on property and licensing and casualty and cars. It's just, there's insurance everywhere. And what recently I heard something new that like licensing violations are now affecting childcare rates. How does that work?
Yes. So if you go back 5-10 years ago, the way the insurance industry pretty much worked in childcare was, how large is your building? How many students do you have? And have you had any losses? That was kind of the only questions asked. Now they're putting a direct link with claims and frequency of claims to license deficiencies on your licensing page. So what used to be, as long as you never have any losses, you could get approved for insurance. Now the very first thing looked at is your licensing deficiencies. And they're looking at not only severity of them, whether they're high, medium, low, they're also looking at frequency. So there's been enough research with a few companies, a few of the major childcare carriers out there, and there has been a direct link with the more frequency of license deficiencies, the more frequency that center has with claims. So that's really where the underwriting procedures start now, are your deficiencies. Now, we know things happen. Insurance companies understand. Same thing. So I've seen schools have a handful of license deficiencies, and then there was a director change, a management change, and they would actually, I'm having the insurance companies go back and look at what school they came from and look at their license deficiencies. If they felt they ran that location well, they will make the decision to overturn the current school's deficiencies because they have new management in place. So they are, to me, that's thinking outside the box for the insurance company. They're not just, okay, if you have this, no matter what, it's a no. But it's been very interesting. And what we see the most on the deficiencies is typically the admin side.
Really?
It's, I mean, things, paperwork filed, background checks, medication labeled. That's what's causing a lot of the, and even if they do, they're going to hit you for higher rates, even if they make the exception to insure the location.
I mean, I could see the correlation. It seemed like the centers that have the most problems have the most problems. And the ones, and if you ignore little things like paperwork, you could ignore little things like licensing ratios too, So that's probably where their thought process is. It's the little things, attention to detail on the little things that make the big things matter. And it's smart that the insurance companies have done this. Of course, I don't like it because, our clients have to pay more. But it kind of makes sense to them from a profit perspective that if you got somebody who's not following the rules, more than likely a lawsuit can happen because a kid can get hurt. And that's what happens when a kid hurts. So, if you're listening to this and you've been lucky in not getting, surcharged, keep your deficiencies to an absolute minimum, if not zero. Those things really matter. And teach your teachers that one serious deficiency or one licensing violation or somebody calling the state on you, it costs you $10,000 in increased premiums, just from one incident, just like that.
And that's what I don't think people understand.
Yeah.
Is the financial effect it truly has to get cited, that it could have when you're cited by licensing due to insurance rates being as high as they are.
For sure. And what do you think a surcharge could be for something serious violation? Could it be a 10% surcharge? Are you seeing higher than that? Like, what's a good number? Is there a ballpark?
So the way the insurance carriers are set up with each state, they file their rates with, they have a percentage over that they can legally go. So every state's different. But I would think a minimum on the 10% side. And you're not going to get any credits to get any help because just the way they can hit the account for more money, they can also credit it to charge them less if everything is great with the school.
True, that makes sense. So it's never been more important to have your directors, your admin team following the rules, and getting that in there, and also having a good relationship with your licensing inspector.
That's key.
Getting that benefit of the doubt. We talk about that on our podcast. Be friendly with them. Send me thank you cards. Don't be adversarial because. And I always let our licensing violator know that this is directly tied to our insurance rates. So if it's something that you could tell me now and I could fix now, as long as if you keep it out of there, it helps us financially. Like, don't put it down just for the sake of you having to put something on paper. If we can avoid that putting it on paper, it helps us in the long run. So sometimes licensors don't know, the license inspectors rather, they don't know that affects their insurance rates because,
Right.
they're not privy to that information. We have to educate them to that fact for sure. So give me an update. What's going on? Since we haven't done a podcast in about a year, what's going on with the insurance market and around the country?
Still pretty wild. I would say in the last 6 months, we probably haven't lost any more carriers. I don't feel that we've gained any more to this point yet. Rates are still going up a bit, not near at the rate they were. I mean, I'm seeing more that 5 to 10% increase versus what a lot of people have felt over the last probably year to two, maybe that 25 to 50. I've even heard of people out there taking 100% increases. But I see, I'm going to be positive of what's coming on the horizon. I think we're starting to flatten out. The key is going to always come down to losses. I know here down in the South, it's on the property side. The weather, it gets us. We're not prepared for freezes, so they're forking out a lot of money on the property piece. I think if we can run a year across the country with decent weather and easy on the claims, I think that's what's going to trigger more carriers to come back to childcare. And then I think the market would become competitive again.
That makes sense. Supply and demand, they took it on the chin for a couple of years and that got up to pull out, and I've seen it on the property side, and all the hailstorms in Texas and hurricanes, tornadoes. It's been a rough couple of years, but so far this year we've been good on the hurricane side.
Yes.
So this is already in September, and we haven't had a major hurricane or even a hurricane hit the United States, so we're lucky. If we can keep that up this year, that might be helpful as well, and not big storms. So, all right, moving on. So, I preach about some must-haves on your policies in childcare, and I still come across people that have been following me for years that just have not listened. So I keep harping and harping and harping. So sometimes, they got to hear something 7 times before you act. What are the must-haves on a childcare insurance policy?
I'm with you though. I know this is when we talk about the most, and still to this day, I don't know that I would say 35% of the schools out there even have it. Employment practices liability. I mean, in short, for me, that's always what I've called as an owner director. So I've had a bad day policy.
Yeah.
I had a bad day. I might have said something I shouldn't have, got myself in trouble. That employment practices policy is really there to empower not only the owner, but the director to be able to have those tough conversations with employees without the fear of retaliation or being sued for. So it doesn't matter. It's really that discrimination policy, race, religion, sex, failure to hire, failure to promote, wrongful termination. It's a big umbrella of the things in the childcare world that it really will help cover. And I feel whether it's going to conferences, talking to directors, assistant directors, I feel everybody now is almost scared to have that tough conversation. This one insurance policy, I really feel empowers you to have the conversation the way you feel that you see fit. I don't feel like you're having to tiptoe around. I think it helps the business overall, not even thinking about the insurance side. I really feel it helps you manage your business the way you need to manage your business.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree.
One of the other ones that we see people not have, you see Progressive's a pretty large company on the auto side. But what a lot of clients don't understand is Progressive doesn't offer hired and non-owned auto. So basically what that's going to be, we all get crazy during the day. And yes, we may have buses, but we got to send a director. We need to send a staff member to the store, run an errand, do something. Well, if they're involved in an accident on company time, the company can still be held liable for it. So what that hired and non-owned is set to do, if that employee is ever involved in an accident and they don't have enough insurance to cover it, and you're brought in the lawsuit, you also have a policy that sits on top of your employees. So again, another peace of mind is ownership. If I do have to send an employee out in a personal vehicle, you can still protect yourself as the business.
And it's not that expensive.
No, we're talking anywhere, depending on carrier, we're talking $100 to $400 a year.
Yeah, it's cheap insurance for. We've had employees get in accidents, and they're going to follow deep pockets. They find out that nice daycare down the road has got $1 million worth of revenue. So you're behind. They're coming after the daycare, and if you don't have this not on auto, you're not protected. So they can. It makes the most sense to have it.
It does, and a lot of the staff, they typically are insured at the state minimums. I mean, they don't carry the limits of insurance as the business owner would. So again, another level of protection for the business.
Yeah. What if they kill somebody? It's going to be a 7-figure thing, and they might only have $300,000 of liability coverage. So yeah, you're right, 100%, which could happen. I mean, you never know. And there's another one. What's the other must-haves?
The big one that the insurance companies, your general liability carriers, they're starting to understand the benefit of that is your student accident.
Yes.
So now, in the past, you didn't have to have a student accident to get general liability abuse professional. Now, a lot of the companies are requiring schools to have the student accident policy in order to give them the general liability policy, because that student accident, it acts as protection against your liability. So if something happens, a student were to fall off the playground, break an arm, you're covered first dollar medical expenses to cover our child. I mean, that's the most important thing, is the child that's injured. What that's supposed to do is try to help prevent the parent from then wanting to sue you. Nothing's come out of their pocket. We understand accidents happen. In the student accident policy, it's not one of those things that loss runs follow. If you have losses on student accident, it doesn't affect your auto, your property, your liability. Those are what you're spending a lot of money on. The student accident policy, to put $250,000 of medical accident insurance on each kid, it's $7 a kid a year. That's it.
Yeah. I know, it's so reasonable. And if you're listening to this, you have to have this 100%. And I've seen other agents, they carry a $25,000 student accident, which I had for many years till I met you. He's like, we got a 250, and that is such a great deal at a great price. And we've used that. We've claimed on that many times, and it's never hit my general liability, and it's never raised my general liability rates. And they pay it, no questions asked. It keeps the parent off your back, and it's a quick pay, and they're very seamless and a lot less. I'm telling you, every person listening, if you own a child care center, you need this policy. Give Blake a call when I get the number at the end. You just absolutely have to have it. You're playing with fire if you don't have these, student accident and the two other policies you just mentioned. Last thing, what about umbrellas? I know I have several of them. What if you have a lot of assets, you have other businesses? Should you consider having an umbrella that kind of sits over on top, like give you extra level of protection? And what is it?
I would always recommend it. What we're seeing today, I guess the rules of umbrella are changing. A lot of policies now, again, I like to use 5 and 10 years ago. That's fairly recent. Your abuse and molestation the umbrella set over it. In today's market, that's been pulled away. But the pieces I really like it for, it still sits over your auto. It still sits over your general liability, and it will sit over your workers' compensation. So those are 3 big pieces as the business as a whole that it will still sit over.
Which is the areas that you probably have the biggest amount of claim naturally anyway. So you want to make sure that if you got something bad happens, you got a little bit extra protection before they can get you personally. Sure. All right. Is there anything else our listeners should know about child care insurance?
Find a child care specialist from an insurance standpoint, from an agent. There's a handful of us out there throughout the country, but that is your best option to be able to get the right coverage at the right price. We have more options for you than if you try to go to your local Farmers or State Farm agent. Find somebody that understands childcare.
For sure. I had my local agent for many, many years, first 18 years or so. Excuse me, until I met Aleaf 7, 8 years ago. And I didn't even realize childcare insurance exists. And when I quoted out, Aleaf is the one that told me, that you need a student accident, you need an EP. Like my local agent never told me all this stuff that I needed. I don't even know if he knew what a student accident policy was because
they don't know where to go get it. Like you don't know what you don't know, unfortunately.
It's sort of like going to a heart doctor for brain surgery,
Yes.
They're both doctors, but you might want to go to one that specializes in what you're looking for. Same thing here. Just because they're a local agent, they get your car and your house, doesn't mean they're going to be the best for your child care center. They'll write it, but they just don't know what they're writing. And you want to make sure you have a child care specialist. I recommend Blake. Aleaf is a great company. I've had them for 7, 8 years. Very loyal, and they're always looking for the best possible deal. And if anybody would like a free quote on childcare insurance, Blake, how would they get a hold of you?
You've got one or two ways. You can email me at blake@aleafinsurance.com, or the easiest way, I always give my cell out. I always have that with me. You can reach me at area code 972-754-8595.
And they'll be down below in our show notes here today. I don't recommend any companies out there. This is the one company I recommend. I'm I hold my recommendations close to the vest, but I would not recommend you if I didn't use you personally. And I do. Blake is my agent. Aleaf is my company, and I've never had a bad thing. I've had claims, and I've had a couple of them, and some big ones too. Never had a problem working with it, and the claim's always been paid. And we had a building. Remember my building that was torn? A windstorm tore my building. We got that claim through and got paid. And we've had some claims on a student accident. Never had a problem with a leaf. So you want to make sure that if something happens, you got an agent and a company that's standing behind you, and that's a leaf. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast today, share your knowledge, and like I said, give Blake a call. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian.
Yeah, take care, buddy. Great interview. Blake did a great job. Please, if you need insurance, give Blake a call. He'll not go wrong. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Child Care Genius podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we will see you next week on the Child Care Genius podcast. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to the Child Care Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.